G'day legends, I hope you're all amazing. Today on 5-Minute Tones, I want to show you my ADA MP-1 style preset on the FM3. I've got the latest beta version of firmware 6 on here, which brings all the amp modeling into line with the AXFX3. Now, because the FM3 has a slightly smaller grid, I've just ported this preset over and tidied it up a little bit. I have shared it on Exchange and it's linked in the video description, but I've actually made two versions of this, one based on the initial measurements that I made and a second one based on some more accurate measurements, including some specs from the actual MP-1 schematic. Shout out to Skooma Dentist on Discord for those ones. So we'll hear version 1 and then version 2. Version 2 does sound slightly closer to my MP-1, but they both sound pretty awesome if you just want to do that MP-1 thing. So if you didn't watch my original video on the AXFX3 version of this, I'm using the Atomica High, basically for distortion and for a pretty neutral tone stack. The actual MP-1 has a fixed tone stack and then uses an active EQ after the kind of main distortion part of the circuit. So I've tried to recreate that there. Atomica High, bass and treble really low, mid up just a little bit. It's just giving us this kind of very neutral style Marshall tone stack. Then a parametric EQ with, in this case, some peaking filters. After being informed about the schematic, it actually turns out that the bass and the presence are shelving filters, and my measurements were pretty close to the actual center frequencies on there. So, felt pretty good about that. So basically, if you want to tweak anything, you go to the perform page on the hardware unit, and I've relabeled these frequencies in here: bass, mid, treble, and presence. So if you're familiar with the real MP-1 and you want to tweak things, use the perform page on there. The IR that I'm using is good old LT TV Mix 7. Get that one from the video description. A little bit of plate reverb. We should hear this thing. So that's the core crunch tone. Now, the MP-1 had a pretty awesome chorus circuit in there, and another shout out to my buddy Nicholas, who helped me measure the chorus in the MP-1. My favorite settings are MP-1 rate on 0 and MP-1 depth at 100. They translate to these settings in the analog mono. You can see there's a phase reverse going on. Make sure you're listening in stereo. This sounds huge. Scene 3 I've set up with a parametric EQ in front of the amp as a boost for even more spice. And finally, scene 4 has delay, stereo pitch detune, the boost on. This is just an awesome, greasy lead scene. Now, version 2 is set up almost identically. It's got all the same effects blocks in there. You can see I've actually tweaked it so the gain's a little bit lower, but the parametric EQ is a little bit different. I measured the center frequency for the bass on there at 120 as a peaking filter. It actually turns out the schematic says that it's a shelving filter at 160 Hertz, and similarly with the presence control on there. So apparently this is slightly more accurate on there. Again, you just use the perform tab. If you want to tweak things on there, I've set it up so you can turn on the amp input boost and play around with the chorus mix from the front panel perform page as well. And I'll let you hear this crunch sound again. Version 2 has a little bit more of that ADA thrack about it, whereas version 1 to me sounds a little bit more modern and almost like my modded 3-tube mod 88 MP-1. So both of them are on Exchange. Like I said, I will link them in the video description. If you want to play around with stuff like power tubes or the amount of negative feedback in the amp block, you can do that to kind of simulate running the MP-1 with different power amps. But I like it like this. Like I said, grab the presets from the video description, go and make some noise with this. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. You can join the Discord, you can grab some free IRs, and you can buy my music and merch in the video description. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.